Hello, everyone. In this revision lesson today, I'd like to discuss an 8-mark question from March 2025, paper 1, AS Psychology. If I talk about this particular question, the question over here reads, explain one similarity and one difference between the study by Hassett et al., that is monkey toy preferences, and one other study from the biological approach. Do not refer to the sample. Just keep that in mind. You're not supposed to refer to the sample. Now, for a question of this sort, you need to very well remember the three different core studies that come under the heading of a particular approach. Remember, your syllabus is divided into four different approaches. If I talk about the biological approach, under the heading of the biological approach, you have the study conducted by Dement and Kleitman, by Hassett et al., by Holzel et al. If I talk about the cognitive approach, you have the study conducted by Andrade, you have the study conducted by Baron Cohen, and you have the study conducted by Pozzolo et al. If I talk about the learning approach, for the learning approach, you have a study that was conducted by Bandura, Ross and Ross, Bandura et al. You have a study conducted by Fagan et al. And you have the study that was conducted by Savage and Silverman. And if we talk about the social approach, for the social approach, you have a study that was conducted by Milgram, the second study conducted by Perry et al., and the third study conducted by Pilyavin et al. Now, you need to know these because for instance, if I talk about this particular question where I've been asked to give one similarity and one difference between this study and any one other study from the same approach, I need to be well aware. I need to know that the two studies that I have an option from over here are either the study by Dement and Kleitman or the study by Holzel et al. So for this particular question, I wanted to discuss this to make sure that the ones who are wanting, the ones who are wishing, more so the ones who've been working to hit an 8 on 8 on a particular question of this sort, they don't miss that opportunity. Now, for this particular question, I come across many students. They'd be like, "Oh, sir, we know we know about a similarity, we know about a difference, but we cannot elaborate it." So if you cannot elaborate it as yet, know that elaboration, or if we talk about the command word used over here, explanation is essential. So I have two options over here, either to compare this study with the study conducted by Dement and Kleitman or the study that was conducted by Holzel et al. No, make your choices wisely, right? In your head, figure out if you know a similarity or difference, can you elaborate on it? Now, I'll tell you how the elaboration goes like. So for a particular 8-mark question, remember, since this is a typical 8-mark question where you've been asked to give one similarity and one difference, know that the similarity that you are planning on writing about is well developed. The point that you've identified is developed enough so that you are able to secure full marks. How do we go about with this? The first mark I keep on telling students you get for the identification of a point. So if there's a similarity in my mind, I elaborate, I identify that, I get my first mark. So similarity. One similarity between Hassett et al. And Dement and Kleitman. I'll zoom this here so that it gets easier for you all. So one similarity between Hassett et al. And Dement and Kleitman is that both use objective quantifiable data to measure behavior. Now, the similarity that I chose to discuss over here was objective data, right? I described it further by writing, oh, if it's objective, there would be quantifiable data that I'm talking about over here. So now, how is it that I get my second mark? I start giving an example of how I feel the study that was conducted by Hassett et al. Was measuring objective data. So in Hassett et al., the researchers measured the amount of time male and female monkeys spent playing with stereotypically masculine or feminine toys. So not only did I identify a point, I developed it further. I explained it further to secure the second mark for myself. Now, remember the other study, when I had said the study that I've chosen over here was conducted by Dement and Kleitman. Similarly, in Dement and Kleitman's study, participants' eye movement patterns and dream recall were measured objectively using an EEG machine to record brain activity during sleep. So this is how I secured my first mark by mentioning I was talking about the similarity based on objective data being collected. I secured my second mark by writing down how Hassett et al. Study was collecting objective measurable data. I get my third mark by writing down how Dement and Fleetman used objective, quantifiable, measurable data. Now, the fourth mark, by using objective measurements, both studies aimed to reduce bias and increase the scientific credibility of the findings, right? So when you're using objective measurements, both of the studies, what were they trying to do? What were they trying to aim? They were trying to look at, or they were trying to, they aimed at reducing biasness from this study. They aimed at increasing the scientific credibility for those for the findings they eventually got. Now, this is how you secure 4 marks. So remember, an 8-mark question, we divided it into 2 questions of 4 marks each. First 4 for similarity and the second 4 marks for differences. And for the 4 marks for similarity, we then again divided those first 4 marks. The first through identification. The second one, I gave an example through the study by Hassett et al. The third, I gave an example by through the study by Dement and Fleetman. And the fourth mark I tried securing by writing down why the researchers wanted to use objective, quantifiably measurable data. Now, moving on towards the differences here, if you have a look at the differences, one difference between Hassett et al. And Dement and Fleetman is that the studies investigated different biological behaviors. Now, this is again the point that I've tried identifying over here. I know that the biological behaviors both of these studies were trying to look at was different, and that I chose to be my my point that I liked, that I identified here. Now, the 6th mark now. Hassett et al. Focused on 6 differences in toy preferences and how these might be influenced by biological factors such as hormones, suggesting that play behavior may be biologically driven. In contrast, Dement and Fleetman investigated the biological relationship between REM sleep and dreaming, aiming to understand the connection between sleep stages and mental activity. So, do you see how there's a particular pattern that we're following, right? Now, moving on. Thus, while both are biological, the 8th mark now, because we want full marks. Thus, while both are biological, Hassett et al. Studied innate behavioral preferences, whereas Dement and Fleetman studied physiological processes related to sleep. And there we go. We good enough to secure or score 8 on 8 on this particular question. A few things before I end this. Are we always going to get a similarity and a difference question in for a typical 8-marker? No. If you have a look at the recent past papers, you see these questions have been there as a part of a paper, as part of a papers more often. But if you have a look at the pre-2024 papers, I understand, I'm aware that there has been reference, there's been a change in the syllabus. I'm aware that core studies have changed. There are certain other things that have changed as well, but nowhere does the examiner say that you would only get a question on a similarity and difference. So yeah, let's put this to the fullest of use. While we getting questions on these, let's prepare all the possibilities. How would you do that? For instance, you got a question on biological approach over here. You could try preparing yourself for a study from the cognitive approach, maybe Andrade, one similarity, one difference from another study from the cognitive approach. Likewise, you could do that for learning approach. You could do that for social approach as well. And what other type of questions have we had in the past? We have had questions on ethics as well. For instance, the examiner might put up a study, any study, let's just say Piliawan, and they ask you if they might so there was a question in the past papers where they put 4 different ethical guidelines and they asked if those ethical guidelines were broken or not. So again, 4 different ethical guidelines have been asked an 8-mark question. Break it up in your head. 2 marks for each. So 1 mark you get for identifying. The second one, you're writing about how it has been broken or how it has not been broken. Likewise, you could get a question related to assumptions. You could get a question related to the results, the findings. Yeah. So make sure you go prepared, and this is just one way the examiner could test you through a typical 8 mark question. So I use this particular question from March 2025 because this is recent, and I hope this has been helpful. Thank you.